Oh shit. Alright. Good morning, goddammit. Piss of Vinegar Day 123. So, back and redelts. Officially started my cut, but in saying that, the first month of my cut is going to be a recomp. So, I'm going to do a slow cut in the sense that I'm going to still try and gain some muscle while losing fat at the same time. So, hopefully, in efforts to maintain as much muscle and strength as possible throughout this cut. So I'm gonna recomp first. So maybe the ever so slight deficit slash sort of maintenance, whilst upping the cardio to try and lose some weight, whilst also lowering the carbs. So to kind of dry out a little bit. So that's the idea for this month, because summer has hit, so it's time to cut. And then next month I will start going into an actual proper deficit, and then the month after that will be a full on, cut down to say 82. I'm currently about 90, so I'm looking to get down to about maybe 82. So a leaner, heavier version of myself than last cut. So last cut I got down to 76, and I wasn't all that lean. I was leaner than I am now, but not that lean. So I'm hoping to get down to 80, which is 4 kilos heavier, and albeit even far, far, far leaner, like visible abs, like actual fucking definition of my chest. So that's what I'm going to go for. And there's a few different things I'm going to do to get there. So first thing I'm going to try and do is cut out grains. I want to see what cutting out grains does for my energy, my mental capacity, my mental health, many different things, including then also my physique. Unfortunately, when you lose weight, you lose a lot of carbohydrates, which then include, and then you lose a bunch of fullness. Your sarcoplasm decreases, and you don't lose muscle, but you get you feel like you're losing muscle. When in reality, you're just getting glycogen out of you're not holding as much water or glycogen, and thus you look smaller. But really, you're not necessarily losing the tissues. And once you then get back into a calorie surplus, you will blow back up again. Last time I did a cut, I got down to 76. Within a week of increasing the calories or carbohydrates, really, I went up to like 80 because it was just a bunch of glycogen storage ready to go. So I'm going to cut out grains, or at least cut them out as much as I can, and then the grains I'm going to consume, I'm going to try have organic, as I've been reading up on grains lately. And I don't want to go like full keto or carnivore, because I really want some carbs in order to really perform in the gym. But I want to get down as low on the grains as possible, which makes carbs difficult, because most of the bodybuilding carbs are grains. Bread, or gluten-free bread in this case. I never eat gluten, but gluten-free bread in my case is primarily rice starch. So rice is a grain. Um, Pasta, all these different carbs that I consume in order to get, more performance and fullness to my muscles, I won't be consuming, which is fine. When you cut, you are sacrificing some things to gain others. So, you're bulking, you get the ability to lift more weights, you have more energy, you're, enjoying your food, you're building muscle. But on the flip side, you lose your abs and you lose vascularity, or at least not so much my case. My arm stays super lean, but the rest of my body just gets fat, especially my fucking chest and lower back. So you lose some things and gain other things. You get the ability to look good whilst not wearing a shirt. So one of the parables of being a natural, or one of the one of the fucking core things about being natural, or I don't know, stereotypes of being natural, I guess. Yeah, stereotype. I like to think of it as a stereotype is, you can only look good in a shirt if you're bulking. You can only look good out of a shirt when you're cutting, because you can't be big and lean at the same time as natural, which I don't believe that bullshit. But as of right now, that is the case for me. When I cut, I don't look so good in shirts. They look a bit loose. And when I bulk, I look great in a shirt, but then I look shit without a shirt on. I'm hoping in a few years from now that isn't the case, or at least I'm confident in a few years from now that won't be the case. But for now, that is very much the case. So when I'm cutting, the face becomes more aesthetic. I get a bit more focused, because you get that kind of hunger, drive. Like when you're really hungry, you're more driven. or not necessarily driven, but more focused. Like my mental clarity is better. Whereas when I'm eating a bunch of food, including a bunch of grains, my mental capacity goes down. So, you know, and then there's other aspects, like when you're cutting weight, you get better at body weight movements, for example, which I don't really care too much about. But there's pros and cons to both. Ultimately, bulking is far more fun, and that's kind of how I like to look at my cuts. Is the quicker I can get my cut done, the better more efficiently I can cut without cheat meals and fucking up by, you know, not doing enough cardio and things of this nature. It means I can get back to bulking again, which is what I enjoy to do. I enjoy bulking. And next bulk would be much slower. This bulk only had 3 or 4 months to do it, so I did a very rush bulk this time around. I got, you know, fluffy too quick. You know, you always get fluffy on a bulk, but ideally next year I'll do a 6 to 8 month bulk. But this is also just an experiment to see how much mass I can gain in a quick bulk. And, you know, successfully, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've gained, you know, 14, 15 kilos of muscle. No, not definitely not 15 kilos of muscle. Sorry, 15 kilos, and maybe 6 or 7 kilos of that has been muscle mass, or, you know, maybe 3 or 4 kilos of that has been muscle fiber density, and 2 or 3 kilos of that have been sarcoplasmic increase from glycogen, etc. But whatever. Point is, I've had a pretty successful bulk. I've gained a lot of strength. I've gained a decent amount of muscle, or a lot of muscle. So even though, albeit it's been a very fast bulk, it's worked very well. I think ideally next year, a far better way of doing it would be a slow, sustained bulk where I try to lean gain a hell of a lot more. But either way, it was a cool little experiment, and now it's time to cut. So expect to see me not progress through the weights as much as I have been in the last 3 or 4 months, but expect to see more definition and maybe some more mental clarity now I'm getting rid of grains, or at least massively reducing them. I'm going to primarily be eating meats, vegetables, fruits, and potatoes. I'm not going to be eating, you know, rice or gluten-free bread that is constituted of rice. Basically rice. I don't really eat pasta or anything else. I won't be eating out anymore. I probably won't be having any cheat days. So I'm essentially just going to go paleo with a bit of Irish addition to it in potatoes. But I might even try, you know, maybe high protein, low carb for a little bit throughout the diet, maybe at the tail end when I'm feeling, you know, pretty flat anyway, and keto won't do any more damage than I'm already making with being, you know, relatively low carb. Because when I cut weight, I like to cut the carbs and keep the proteins the same. I try to use as much protein to maintain as much muscle density as possible, and then I just give up the sarcoplasm that you know. The thing is, if you go, say, evenly drop the carbs and proteins at the same rate, then you evenly distribute what you lose. You lose half sarcoplasmic reticulum fullness to the muscle, and then you'll also lose half actual fiber density. But let's say you drop the protein, then you would maintain the pumps and maintain the sarcoplasm, but then you might, you know, start losing some actual hard-earned muscle fiber density, which I find vastly superior, because that's much harder to gain than it is to just increase the carbs again and very quickly shoot back up in muscle fullness. So I tend to cut carbs and keep the protein as high as I possibly can. I try to still keep it pound per body weight, but I might go even more extreme this time, and at the tail end of the cut, I might do, you know, carnivore or keto. I've always been curious about carnivore diet. A lot of people, you know, proclaim anecdotally all these different, physiological and mental benefits, far better mental capacity, lowering in depression and anxiety and autoimmune diseases and all these cool things. So I thought, you know, I've been thinking a little bit about potentially maybe doing carnivore for a month, maybe at the tail end of my cut. As I said, at the tail end of my cut, you know, losing a little bit more sarcoplasmic size, or, you know, glycogen or whatever, isn't going to hurt me that much when it's already pretty low anyway. So it'll be a little bit of an experiment. And as soon as I then get back into the bulk, all that fucking glycogen and, you know, water retention will immediately shoot back in, and it's all good anyway. So yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of other things I'm going to be doing for the cut. I don't want to spoil them right now because I kind of want to talk about them while I'm cutting. But that's the general basis. It's just, you know, lower the calories, start pretty moderate, just kind of recomping slash some very mild deficit, and then just slowly ramp it up from there. Um, for about 2 or 3 months, maybe 4 months if I, you know, potentially fuck things up again. But I'm, you know, notoriously I'm fucking terrible at cutting weight. I like food too much. I hate cardio a lot. So in the past, I have either absolutely failed cuts and then just got in a limbo of cutting and bulking, which, you know, is actually realistically what I did for years, which absolutely fucked up my gains massively. If I had just successfully bulked and cut over the last, you know, 6-7 years of my somewhat consistent training, I'd be a hell of a lot stronger and bigger right now. So, you know, last year I basically spent all year cutting, and then maybe half of this year I spent cutting. So I cut for like a year and a half, maybe 2, because it was just that difficult for me to lose weight. And then eventually I found what worked, and I got down to the weight I wanted to be. So I'm hoping all the accumulation of, you know, becoming older and more disciplined, and just knowing all the different tricks and tips that work for me during my cut will allow me to do this quick 3-month cut. And I think part of what that will make it easier this time is the fact that I'm more muscular than I've been probably ever. So, you know, I've got a faster metabolism because I'm baseline heavier. Last time I cut weight, to get lean, I had to get down to 76 kilos. At 76 kilos, my calorie intake was like fucking 1800 because I was super slow metabolism. To get down to super lean right this time will probably be like 80 kilos. And at 80 kilos, my maintenance calories was probably more like 2,200 calories. So I'll be able to eat a lot of more calories because I have more muscle mass, and I'm just generally a standard, quite a bit heavier than my previous. So I think cutting will be easier many ways this time around. And if you are interested in embarking on this cut with me, maybe you've been bulking for the last few months and you're feeling a bit fluffy and it's time to cut down, then by all means join me on the journey. I think it's easier to do things alongside people rather than on your own. So, you know, it's very well could be what holds you accountable is coming along for the ride. I knew Elliot Holst used to do this kind of thing where he would do like a 90-day challenge where he'd cut weight so he'd get his subscribers to do it alongside him. And a lot of times his subscribers, because they were embarking upon this kind of community effort, were able to successfully lose weight where they wouldn't able to before. So if you're about to cut weight, then jump on board, as many as you guys as you want. Let's get shredded. Especially if you're in Australia right now, I'd imagine you're probably timing your cut around summer, in which case this is the perfect time of year to do it, because it's fucking hot right now, and it's only going to get hotter. Whereas if you're in America or anywhere else in the world, you're probably freezing your ass off, so it's probably bulking season. So really, this call out probably just goes to anyone in the southern hemisphere. But either way, this cut should be good, or at least I hope it will be. I think the main thing for me this cut will be getting in the rhythm of doing cardio to offset the calorie requirement. Historically, I try to do cardio every day. I fucking hate cardio. So I think what I'm going to try and do now is cardio 3 times a week, high intensity cardio, because you get the EPOC benefit, or, you know, in layman's terms, fucking afterburn, which, you know, may or may not be real, but also in 15 minutes I can burn 300 calories versus the fucking hour of burning, say, 200 calories at steady state. I personally much rather do the high intensity cardio 3 times a week rather than steady state 7 times a week. So that's what I'm going to do high intensity cardio in order to offset some of the calorie requirements and a bunch of other amalgamations of things that I'll disclose when I start cutting for real next month. For now, recomping